I find that people who work at gun stores and shooting ranges always have some good stories. So today we have a young woman who works at a local range on the show. Gun Talk Nation is brought to you by Savage Arms and GunDealio. Trigger the deals. Hey, welcome into Gun Talk Nation. Today on Gun Talk Nation, we're going to go behind the scenes with someone who works at a gun store and shooting range. And let's bring her in, Brooke Doiron from FRC in Baton Rouge. Welcome in.
Hey, how are you?
Good, good. So for those listening and those watching this, FRC is an indoor range, a really nice indoor range in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And it's one of the places that we use. We go over there, and when we are, a lot of times when we're filming and we want that look and feel of an indoor range, we'll rent the space, and just great people over there. They've got a shoot house, they've got the gun store and all this other stuff. But we met Brooke, we met you a couple weeks ago and started talking. And I'll be honest, in the gun world, people joke it's old and it's male, and you're neither of those things. And
Yeah.
so it's good to talk to a fresh face and someone who perhaps has a different perspective on these things. So give people a little background on who you are and kind of how you got here.
Well, my name is Brooke. I started working at the range about a year ago. I didn't start working at the range intending to be an instructor, but it kind of led into that. I've learned lots being here. I didn't realize how in depth everything can go, and how ignorant a lot of people can be as well.
A lot of people don't realize how ignorant. It's one of those things that it's a phrase that we say a lot, but you don't know what you don't know. And
Exactly,
it's just so true. And the problem is, I mean, how much do you see people being influenced by things they've seen on TV and movies when it pertains to guns? And typically, a lot of times that's just incorrect.
Oh, we see it all the time. It's definitely a daily thing. People come in multiple times a day, and a lot of people don't like to be corrected on those kind of things. Like all the movie star Hollywood kind of, things that they do. But we really try our best. A lot of it's not safe.
What type of stuff do you see on the range typically that are recurring problems or safety issues?
A lot of it is not knowing the muzzle safety. So flagging, pointing the gun in the wrong direction. We stress a lot that you need to keep the gun downrange. Please don't point it at anything that you're not willing to shoot. And that's really hard for people to grasp. And we also see a lot of finger on the trigger. It's so easy to put your finger on that trigger. Modern day life trains you to put your finger on the trigger. So we see a lot of that as well. And those are, two major things that you don't want to see.
It's crazy. You see people just pick up a gun and their finger just goes right onto the trigger, right into that trigger guard. And unless you grow up that way of not doing that, it's hard to train yourself or to get used to the idea. The other thing is, at all ranges, including indoor ranges, one of the things you're talking about, keeping the muzzle pointed downrange at the targets. And it's a simple idea, but what I see, especially with handguns, is people will turn the gun parallel to their body, to their chest or their stomach, and they're trying to run the slide, change the mag out, or whatever, and they're pointing the gun. If they're right-handed, they're probably pointing the gun to everybody at their left. If they're left-handed, they're probably pointing everybody to the right. Those are some common things that we've seen over the years. What made you decide to become a firearms instructor?
Well, I really enjoyed it. I'm a very competitive person as well. I didn't realize how in depth the safety and the need for people to learn safety was. So I kind of took it upon myself, especially for the ladies that I've seen come in the range. They're clueless when they come in. They're scared to death of these guns. And so I kind of took it upon myself to learn so that way I could teach others, the safety and how to protect themselves.
So your interest as far as firearms training is more on the self-defense side?
Absolutely.
I mean, did you grow up in this, shooting guns, that type of thing?
I did. I grew up shooting rifles mainly. Handguns was a newer thing to me. It wasn't a stranger, but it wasn't something that I did avidly. But I definitely grew up with people surrounding me, always telling me, watch your surroundings, awareness, and self-protection. And I've carried for a very long time. But at the same time, I didn't know all the ins and outs of laws and whatnot. So I took it upon myself to train myself, get the licenses and everything.
Okay, so if somebody's listening to this and they think, well, I mean, what's involved in becoming a firearms instructor? Walk us through your process and what types of training that you took. I mean, what was involved? How much time is involved? I mean, if someone's thinking, this sounds interesting, how do I get into this?
So typically it's not something that you just want to walk into. You really have to have the right mindset. You have to have the right knowledge, skills, and attitude to be able to be a firearms instructor and do your job correctly. So it took me about 6 months to be able to get certified through the state and everything. It took a very long time to be able to shoot the qualification. If you're not, very familiar with shooting a handgun, shooting a target at 15 yards away in a 8-inch circle, and then having the 16 rounds within the 6-inch circle, it could be very challenging. So that was probably one of the harder things to overcome was making sure I made that qualification. But as far as the schooling goes and the classes, you definitely have to take the basics of pistol shooting class with the NRA. Mm-hmm. You also need to have a concealed carry license. It's recommended, not required. And then you also, have to put in the dedication. You have to be very aware of the safety rules and making sure that you have the right skill set and mindset.
So this is, I mean, just for people listening, we're kind of talking about in Louisiana.
Correct.
And you're talking about the certification is concealed carry instructor. Is that right?
It is a pistol instructor. Yes, sir.
Okay. So there's the state qualification part to do like concealed carry instruction, but just becoming a certified pistol instructor. I mean, they have NRA courses, they have USCCA has their courses.
Correct.
And what's involved in that? How long did it take you?
The course itself took 3 days. I took it here at FRC with John Hanchey. It is a very rigorous course. It's lots of information being poured at you within those 3 days. Mm-hmm. It's quite intimidating.
Yeah. So, I mean, so you did that. And how long have you been instructing? I mean, how's it going?
About 6 months now. It's been going great. I've seen so much. And once you know the rules and how everything goes, you see it so much more. I mean, like I said, the biggest things we see are basically people breaking the 4 main safety universal rules of firearm safety and, finger off the trigger and whatnot.
So what types of people do you see coming in to get training from you? I mean, what walks of life and what are their reasons for wanting to get training?
So it's mainly, we have a lot of our middle-aged men that come in. That's probably our general population, but we also have a very large and rapidly increasing population of women coming in, all ages. I've trained with women who are in their 60s, upper 60s. I've trained women who are 18, and they all are coming in for basically the same thing, and that's the safety. Baton Rouge is a very violent city, and there's incidents that happen every 14 minutes in Baton Rouge. So they come in for mainly just safety. They saw a friend get hurt or themselves were in a situation that they wish they would have had something to protect themselves.
Are there any stories from people that stand out to you as far as kind of their backstory and wanting to get some more training?
Oh yeah, absolutely. There's been, I think one of the ones that kind of startled me the most was a lady was walking to her car, was grocery shopping here in Baton Rouge, and she went to go put her groceries in the car, and 2 men came up to her, had her held at gunpoint, asking her for her money and everything she had. And she was petrified, obviously. So thank goodness she got out of the situation well. She obviously lost her purse and everything else that she had in her car that was valuable to them. And she immediately came in for gun training after that. but she was terrified of the guns, because once you experience a situation where, your life is kind of on the line, the thing that was most intimidating was the gun. And obviously you're going to be scared of that thing. So typically when we have women in those high stress situations, when they first shoot the first round through that gun, they typically break down and cry. And it's just it's a load of emotions that they go through. It's scared. It's happy that they actually did it. It's, confidence. There's a lot that goes on when they finally shoot that shot.
Wow. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, if you think about that, that certainly anyone being a victim of crime, that would motivate you to get gun training. But most of us, I would venture to say, most of us have not had a gun pointed at them like on purpose, aggressively.
Right.
And that's just, that's got to shake you to your core and really change your relationship with guns, especially if you didn't really have a relationship with guns before and you weren't a shooter or concealed carry person or
right.
a hobbyist. And all of a sudden now guns are pointed in your face. It would be hard to overcome that. I mean, how do you guys start someone out that way?
So our new shooters, if you've never shot a handgun before, we really like to take it slow. I will start you out in the lobby. I'll ask you if you've ever shot one before. If not, then we're going to take care of you. We're going to go over the basic stuff in the lobby where it's kind of quiet. I will tell you the safety rules, the 4 universal safety rules in the lobby. I'll make sure you know how to grip the firearm. I'll make sure that your sight alignment and sight picture is correct, how to aim the gun. So that way you kind of know what's going on before we go into the range. The range can be very loud, especially indoor ranges. So then when I get them on the line, typically all of our females are jumpy. It's very natural to be, reactive to the loud booms in the range. So I like to start them out with learning how to load your magazine. So we're going to start loading your magazine. We're not even shooting right now. We're just figuring out how the gun operates. Then we're going to learn how to rack the slide to the rear. So that way we can visibly and physically check the chamber and know how it's cleared. Then we'll go into loading your firearm, how to properly load it. And then we'll ease into shooting.
Yeah, I love the way that you'd start off slow and kind of step by step, get them more comfortable with it before you even jump into the shooting, which probably in a friend's backyard or back 40, they probably don't take all those steps. Hey, we're going to be right back after a couple quick messages. You either reload or you're thinking about getting into reloading. I know it and you know it. Well, here's a place to start. Go to HodgdonReloading.com. And yes, they have the Hodgdon Reloading Data Center with all the recipes, but even better, they have a spot for reloading for beginners, and they will walk you through the process. There's a lot of great information there that they've put together. So go check it out, HodgdonReloading.com. Also, Smith & Wesson, the CSX is the brand new platform from Smith & Wesson. This is a hammer-fired micro 9mm. This may be your next concealed carry gun. It's an aluminum alloy frame, which makes it very rigid, but also not heavy, which really makes the gun very shootable and a fun gun to shoot. It's a very ambi gun, ambi thumb safety, changeable mag release from left to right, and ambi slide stop. It's a 10-round magazine. It does have an extended 12-round magazine. Check it out, the CSX at smith-wesson.com. Savage Arms, they have a new gun. It's a new EDC handgun. It's called the Stance. This is another micro compact 9mm. The Stance utilizes a chassis as the serialized component of the pistol, which gives the Savage flexibility to offer a wide variety of grip frames. And they kind of came out of the box with a lot of different options for this Stance. Comes with 2 interchangeable back straps for small or large size grips. Check it out, savagearms.com. All right, so Brooke, I know people probably do this to you because they do it to me. They want to know, okay, but what gun should I buy? What gear should I get? And they get a bit wrapped up in that. I mean, how do you answer that when someone says, I want to get a gun, what should I get?
So everybody needs a different gun, or every gun's going to fit everybody differently, I should say. So typically I would ask people to come in, go to a range that has rental guns that you can try. You need to make sure the gun's going to fit your hand properly. You need to make sure the gun's going to fit your purpose. Where are you going to be carrying it? Why are you carrying it? And so you can't really give somebody a definite answer when they ask what kind of gun should I buy. You could probably recommend a few things for them to check out, but as far as, this is the one you need, probably not the best thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's great about these days is that there actually are a lot of good options. I mean, we probably, if you went back 15, 20 years, maybe there were some options, but they weren't all good options. And
Yeah.
a lot of good stuff is being made these days, and I would say a lot of value. So quality that doesn't cost people an arm and a leg. I mean, it's generally
Yeah.
attainable, affordable to some degree for most people. Do you have a place
Yeah.
that you kind of recommend people start? Is say, I want a handgun. Is there a category of type of gun that you prefer for people?
Well, I do. I always recommend a Glock just because it's, a very universal gun. People are, it's a very well-known brand. They're not super expensive, and they're known to always go bang when you're in situations.
Mm-hmm.
I do recommend SIGs. I'm a SIG person myself, just because they're, I guess, a little, higher class, if you want to say. But that's just the gun that I'm comfortable with.
Sure. But I like how that you carry that, but you're like, hey, that's okay if you want to carry something else, as long as you know how to run it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's different.
What other, I mean, you guys do a lot of different classes over there at FRC. What are some of the other things that you've either taught or classes you've taken?
So I've taken the range safety officer position. It's very nice to know all of the range safety rules and how to direct lines, how to take care and handle situations that may come abroad on the range. I teach the basics of pistol class, starting people from scratch. I teach the concealed carry classes. I would like to take our force on force class, which is when you use like the live the simulation rounds. And we also train like security guards and SWAT teams here as well. So I have been a volunteer in those situations, being a standby. But I would love to, put myself in that situation and, see how it works.
Yeah. And what's amazing about going through the force on force type scenarios is you can learn just as much as being a bystander or a bad guy as being the good guy who's going through the scenario.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd be very surprised how many people who are training to be, a guard or whatnot, and they freeze in situations that put them under a lot of pressure. A lot of people don't understand that it's a very hard mental thing to get over, that you're actually going to have to pull the trigger and shoot somebody. Granted, it's simulation rounds, and it's simulation rounds, but it's still very hard for somebody to do.
So you guys see people that are going through that freeze up and can't put shots on the bad guy?
They just literally can't. They physically freeze up and can't do it. And we take them out, we talk to them, we what's going on, and then we eventually get back into it, and we try the scenario again in a different way.
Wow, that's got to be interesting. Now, I mean, I started by saying this is a male centric industry for a lot of areas. You're a young woman, and I think it's awesome because we need more women getting into this, and especially trainers. I find that women want to take classes from women. There's a comfort level there. How do we get more women getting training, but also get more women to become firearms trainers?
So as far as getting women to get more training, I think it's imperative to make sure that they know that they can come to a female instructor and get training from women. There's a lot of women that show up to our all women's concealed carry class on Saturdays, mainly because, men don't understand, but sometimes y'all are a little intimidating, or y'all don't dumb things down the way that we need it dumbed down. We like to keep it simple, stupid. Talk to us in the way that we understand. Don't get frustrated with us. Sometimes we don't have the same hand size as y'all, so it's easier and faster for y'all to rack the slide versus us. We need different techniques to do it. So kind of spreading the awareness that there are female instructors, just like other women, that can help you teach, that can help you learn. And as far as getting more female firearms instructors, I think that goes the same way, making sure that, other people know that it's not just a men's world. There's definitely other women out there. There's, hundreds of women out there who are doing firearms instructing, and, other women need us because they're relying on us to teach them how to protect themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And also, I mean, women are perhaps more targeted as victims of crime. And there's certain crimes that are almost exclusively against women and not men. So, I mean, it makes
Absolutely.
all the sense in the world for women to be prepared, be armed, be trained. And there's a movement, and we know in the last year and a half, a lot of guns have been sold. There are like 15 million brand new gun owners, never owned a gun before. Now they own one.
Yeah.
But what I'm curious about is, how do we get those people to take the training? Because they buy the gun, they go home. And if they've never owned a gun before, the gun is sitting in a box. There's an ammo. There's a box of ammo with it. It may even be loaded, and they may never even shot the gun. I mean, how many people do you see come into the range? Because your range, people can, it's just like any indoor range. They can pay to just come shoot. They don't have to take a class necessarily.
Correct.
I mean, you must see a lot of brand new gun owners shooting their guns for the first time just on the range, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it really helps here that the FRC, we're here for training. So I think it helps our range specifically that we do offer training here. And then everybody here that works here is certified to train. So with that being awareness in the facility, a lot of people kind of ask us when they're a new gun owner and they're starting out with their gun, hey, I really don't understand how to do this. So can you help me out? And of course, our people are going to say, yes, let me help you. But as far as other ranges and seeing all the people who don't know what to do with their gun, I think, again, awareness is going to be the best thing to do. I love the quote saying, I can own a guitar, but it doesn't make me a musician. It's the same thing with owning a gun. Just because I can own a gun doesn't make me, a professional, gun handler. A lot of people come in with improper grip. There's been so many people that come and ask for Band-Aids because they cut their thumb from having their thumb crossed over the back. So again, I think it's just going to be awareness and spreading that, this is very dangerous. You're handling something that can immediately put out somebody's life, and you really need to take it upon yourself to get that education.
I agree totally. There are products they're doing a better job. The gun industry is doing a better job at bringing out more products for a lot of different people. One of the movements that we've seen in the last few years are guns semi-autos designed to be easier to run. So you have the Shield EZ, you've got the Light Rack from Ruger, and guns of that nature, a lot of them being, well, you have 380s, and you even have 22s that are sort of like full-size-ish 22s, even revolvers in that way. I mean, what's your experience? What are your thoughts on those types of guns that are maybe a little bit less traditional than just a full-size 9?
So I know a lot of people try to knock, those smaller caliber guns or, the different EZs. But I think they're very useful. We have lots of women who come in here with arthritis, and, it's very hard for them to rack those slides. I mean, it's damn near impossible. So I think it's very helpful. It's very nice to see that they're coming out with new stuff that is going to be more accessible to different people. Like we said earlier, not every gun's going to be perfect for everyone. Everybody needs their own specific gun for what they're using it for and what they need.
It's funny. So I've shot the Shield EZ like when it first came out in 380. It's not a tiny 380, and it is so fun to shoot because there's just not much recoil, and of course it's easy to run the gun as well. But it's what people do to their 9s, the regular carry guns. They try to port the barrel or do comps or add weight or do all these things so it shoots flat. Well, guess what shoots flat?
Yeah.
A 380 shoots really flat, right?
Yep.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, what's next for you? What do you see in your journey as a firearms trainer? Is this something you see yourself doing in the future?
Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely want to continue doing what I do. I learn something new basically every time I go out on the range. I really want to take some classes with Ms. Vicki Farnham. There's a lot of different other female instructors I would love to take classes from, and non-female instructors, of course. But I really want to I really enjoy what I do. It's very rewarding knowing that somebody comes to me after the class is over and they're like, Brooke, I learned so much from you, and especially people with renewals. I've learned so much from you, other people teach it some ways. And I find it very enlightening to know that I sent somebody home knowing they're going to dream about these safety rules and how to, work with their gun.
Well, it's a good point. And I know that you guys and gals at FRC take the training aspect really seriously. So I know sometimes with the concealed carry training or especially renewals, there can be a bit of an attitude of like, oh, this is just, we got to check this box and whatever. But I love that you guys are going, no, this is like important stuff. And we're going to make sure you walk away with some new nugget of information that's going to be helpful or could keep you safe or keep you out of jail. I mean, that's certainly part of a concealed carry class. It's not the when to shoot and how to shoot. It's the whole legal part of it, which, I mean, that's another part that people just have no idea on, right?
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of people are very, clueless and rightfully so. I mean, how are you going to know unless you, try to deliberately learn about it? But that's a very important part is the legal aspect.
Yeah. I mean, there's no shame in not knowing because, I mean, look, if you come and you're a dentist or you're
right.
a carpenter, like I don't know anything about that. And why would I claim to know stuff like that? And it drives me a little bit crazy when it comes to shooting, training, all that stuff, when people are like, they don't want to admit they just don't know. And it's like, why would we expect you to know? It's okay. This is not your world. This is not your 40-hour a week thing. This is what we do.
Right.
So, Brooke, thanks for being with us. I mean, if someone is in the Baton Rouge area, how do they find more about what you guys are up to?
So they can definitely go on our website, www.frcbr.com. They can see our training calendar, see what we're doing. They can always come in and ask questions as needed. If they're not in the Baton Rouge area, there's Miss Marie Pace in Lafayette. She works at Tactical Rose. There's also the Range Century Defense. They can contact these different ranges, and they host those classes as well.
Yeah, good stuff. And we've talked about it before, but FRC has a really cool program called the Sentinel program that will run you through a bunch of different classes. Yeah. And then once you graduate, you're pretty squared away, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, thanks for your time, Brooke. It's been great talking with you. I'm so glad to see a fresh face in the world of firearms training. You're doing some great stuff.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
All right, guys, that's it for us. We'll see you next time on Gun Talk Nation.